How's it going, fellow club members? This is Leo Damascus with the Steam Controller Fan Club, and today we're going to take a look at the native Steam controller support in the newly launched Sonic Mania. So we're going to start off by looking at the controller configuration itself. As you can see, it's got a fairly simple setup, and something that I usually consider to be a problem, it's only got one action set. Now, it's not as bad as you've seen in some, because as you can see, you do get some good descriptors as far as what they do both inside of the game and what they do from inside of the menu, but it still would be more beneficial if you were able to control those separately, if you were able to configure both the menu configurations and the in-game configurations to be however you like. So this is a fairly simple configuration. You can see not a whole lot of actions here, just some menu things with the jump and your basic movement directions. So nothing too complicated here. The one gripe that I really do have is that the requires click is set to on for the trackpad in the default, and that's something that can make it a little bit more cumbersome to use the trackpad for moving around than is absolutely necessary. So I recommend turning that off first thing that you do. But other than that, it's a fairly straightforward configuration for you to use with Sonic. Sonic's not a very complicated game, so it doesn't necessarily need complicated controls, but let's take a look and see what exactly we have in-game here. So welcome to the actual game. And you can see, as we start to move around the game, that the controls are just as simple as you would have expected based on that fairly simple control scheme. Move around there. If you hold the jump button while you're going down, you get that peel out thing, which is actually pretty sweet. But there's nothing that is going to specifically add that into the control scheme, which personally I would like it if it were possible for you to map that separately so that you can keep the action separate from everything else. But it's definitely not going to break the game, and I can understand why they might not want to do that. One thing that is cool here, let's actually take a moment here to just sort of pause, and I am going to switch controllers here for a little bit so that you can see. Check this out. With a second controller connected here, you can actually have a second player playing along as Tails, just like in the old Genesis games. And that's actually something that I haven't been able to do in the Sonic 1 and 2 ports that you see on Steam here, but it's something that you can definitely do when you're playing the game here. So one thing that might be worth looking at is that in this game, you do have these same ball things, and I do have a little bit of a hard time controlling them with the Steam controller, but maybe that's just because they're difficult to control anyway. But that's something to consider. One thing that you can note if you're playing this is that you can control Tails as well from just one controller. You can start him flying by just pressing up and jump, and then he starts flying and you can connect to him that way. I don't know if that's how it worked in the original Sonic games on the Genesis, because as I said, the ones that I played were on Steam itself, and I could never get them to work with the two-player thing that I have on here. There's another thing that I'd complain about with the controls, which brings back my point earlier about how I would like it if it were possible to map the actual peel-out thing to a different controller scheme, is that it overwrites the peel out when you use these, when you get one of these guys here. So the elemental shields is what I'm specifically referring to. And so that can be a bit of a nuisance. But again, I can understand why they did it the way that they did. It's just, I would kind of prefer if I still had the option to control and use the peel out even when I have the elemental shields. Anyway, let's finish off here. I've more or less said everything that I want to say about the native Steam controller support. I'm not sure I would buy this game specifically for the native Steam controller support because, like I said, it's fairly simple. But at the same time, I definitely wouldn't put off buying it because of the Steam controller support. It's perfectly functional for what the game tries to be. And that's about that. So I'm gonna keep playing this game because I absolutely love it. And I'll see you all in the next club meeting. This is Leo Damascus, and I'm signing off for now. Take care, guys.